All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to be talking about a company that's pretty much the hidden backbone for thousands of pharmacies out there, RX Systems Inc. We're going to see how they built themselves into the central hub for pretty much everything a pharmacy needs to run day to day.
So, let's kick things off with a question that, if you've ever managed a pharmacy, you know all too well. You've got your main drug wholesaler, of course, but what about everything else? The answer is usually a lot of different suppliers. And trying to manage all of those vendors can be a massive operational headache.
I mean, think about it. Running a pharmacy is like putting together this incredibly detailed puzzle. You need the right vials, labels that are compliant in your state. You need blister cards for your long-term care patients, prescription bags, even the anti-fatigue mats your techs are standing on. Every single one of those little things is small, yeah, but they are absolutely critical to keep things moving.
And that complexity, that whole logistical nightmare, that's exactly the problem that RX Systems Inc. decided to tackle way back in 1979. Their entire reason for being is built around trying to simplify this for you. From the get-go, their mission was super clear and, honestly, pretty ambitious: to become the single phone call, that one-stop shop for the huge variety of supplies that pharmacies rely on. And it didn't matter if you were a tiny independent shop on the corner or a huge institutional pharmacy.
And man, have they grown. It all started with the founder, Richard Jensen, in a space that was barely 200 square feet. Can you imagine? From that teeny tiny beginning, they just methodically grew and grew over the decades to keep up with what the industry needed.
So where did all that expansion lead? Well, today, they're operating with over 200,000 square feet of manufacturing and warehouse space combined. That is just a massive footprint, and it's all dedicated to pharmacy supplies. But don't picture just one giant warehouse. They've been really smart about it and built out a whole national network. Their main hub is in Missouri, but with facilities everywhere from Pennsylvania all the way out to Arizona, they're set up to get supplies to pharmacies all across the U.S. and do it efficiently. Okay, so we've been throwing around this phrase, one-stop shop. But what does that actually mean? What's on the shelf? Let's take a peek inside their product catalog to see how this all comes together.
It all really starts with their bread and butter, prescription packaging. We're talking a huge range of pill cards, heat seal, cold seal, multi-dose, you name it. And this is the really key part. They also provide the automated equipment, like the sealers and fillers, that makes processing all those cards actually efficient.
Next up, you've got the absolute workhorses of any pharmacy, the stuff you just can't function without. This is your laser and thermal RX labels, your state-specific tamper-resistant forms, and of course a whole line of pill vials and containers with all the different colors and caps you could need.
And this right here is where that one-stop shop idea really clicks. It goes way beyond just the stuff for dispensing. They handle the operational sundries. We're talking filing cabinets, glassware, tape, you name it. They even take care of your branding with custom bags that have your pharmacy's logo on them.
Look, anybody can have a big catalog, right? But making that model actually work for a busy pharmacy is a whole different ballgame. The real story is in the strategic advantages they've built that make them such a compelling partner. A huge strength is just how versatile they are. Their catalog isn't a one-size-fits-all solution for the corner drugstore. Nope, they have really specialized products that are designed specifically for the unique needs of long-term care, correctional facilities, hospitals, and even those massive mail-order pharmacies.
Okay, this slide right here, this is a perfect example of their whole philosophy. Instead of you having to buy pill cards from one company and a sealing machine from another and then just crossing your fingers and hoping they work together, RX Systems gives you an integrated solution. The thing you use and the machine that uses it come from the same place. No more compatibility headaches.
And what about branding? This is another huge advantage. Being able to put your pharmacy's logo, your identity, on everything from the pill cards to the prescription bags, that's powerful. It lets you maintain your brand on the materials your patients interact with the most.
So when you put it all together, their advantage isn't just one single thing. It's this powerful mix of being true specialists in packaging, offering integrated equipment, having tons of branding options, and just having the sheer scale to offer a catalog that covers almost everything.
Okay, but let's be real for a minute. For any kind of business partnership, you have to look at the practical side of things, right? So let's dig into some of the key things you'd want to think about when you're looking at a supplier like RX Systems.
So that automation we talked about, it's awesome, but it's also a big investment. There's no getting around that. Any pharmacy that's thinking about their autofillers or sealers really has to do the math and figure out the return on that investment. What are the labor savings, the efficiency gains?
And you also have to think about where you are geographically. Their distribution network in the US is solid, but if your pharmacy is located way outside one of their main service areas, or especially if you're international, then shipping costs and how long it takes to get things are going to be a really critical factor in your decision.
This really breaks it down for you. These are the main things to keep on your radar. You've got to weigh the upfront cost for equipment we just mentioned, the potential lead times for shipping, and also the turnaround time for any custom items, because those are naturally going to take a bit longer than the off-the-shelf stuff. And finally, a couple of super important checks you can't forget. First, you've got to make sure that any packaging, especially if you're doing unit dose, meets all the current regulatory standards for things like stability and being tamper-resistant. And second, it's just smart to think about how their technology fits in with where the industry is going in the future.
And that brings us to our final thought here. When you look at the whole picture, from the hassle of juggling a dozen different vendors to the potential upside of an integrated system, you just have to ask yourself, could simplifying my supply chain be the next big key to unlocking new efficiencies? To freeing up my time and my staff's time for what really matters, which is taking care of patients?